Hello and welcome to UTS Library's Zoom presentation on how to use RefWorks. So this is basically a video version of a face-to-face class that we ran possibly for the last time in a little while in the library today. And in case you can't come to the library in the short-term future to medium-term future, we'll have this video to show you how to use RefWorks. And the good thing about it is it doesn't take as long as the real class. It only takes about half an hour instead of an hour. So let's get cracking. First thing I guess I'll do before I start demoing the software itself is just to tell you what RefWorks is. RefWorks is a piece of referencing software. So its job is to store references for you, and you can put them into RefWorks via keying them in. So you could, write in the author is this, the title is this, and so on and so forth. Or even better, sometimes you can download that sort of information into RefWorks from off the internet. So RefWorks harvests all of this information about the things you're reading and the things you're looking at. And then the main selling point of it is it then interfaces with your word processor and puts these references into, say, Word for you, according to whatever referencing style you like. And it has a great many referencing styles it can work with, Harvard UTS, APA 7th, Chicago, and more. Okay, so let me show you how it all works. What I'm going to do now is share my screen, and you'll see a bit less of me. Where are we? Let's go over here. Okay, so what we first need to do before we, pardon the folks in the hallway there, what we need to do before we go and look at RefWorks is to create an account if we don't have one already. So I'll show you how to do that. The place to do all of this is from the library so that you can get a free RefWorks account. You would write RefWorks into the catalog search here and press enter. And then you would go down to this second hit here, not the top one, but this thing here that says your personal web-based database. You can either click the available online link or the title, either of these. Either way, you'll come to this page. Now, you'll want to choose the new RefWorks if you're starting from scratch. The old legacy RefWorks is about to be turned off. So if you click this link, you can make an account. First, you have to log in. And here we go. So if you were starting without an account, you would sign up for one by clicking this button, and it asks you to put in your UTS email. And then after that, it sends you a confirmation email, and you set up, your username and your password, and you're good to go. It only takes a couple of minutes. We did it in the class just now, and it was very, very rapid. But once you've set all that up, you come down here and you can log in this way. Once you have a login too, you don't have to go through the library anymore. You can just Google RefWorks and log in that way, and that will work as well. Okie dokie. Here I am. I've got 3 references that are going to come in that I actually created in the class a little bit earlier, so I'll just quickly delete them. And here we are. We've got a kind of blank slate. So this is a nice place to start because you may be in the same position. Over here on the left, I'll just describe the layout of the RefWorks interface here for you. Over here on the left, we have a filing system for all the references. There's all references. Sometimes when you're importing references from the internet, they'll be put into this last imported folder so you can find them easily. There is a option within RefWorks to create folders. So these could be smaller, lists of references that you wanted to collect for a particular purpose. So say you were studying a business degree, you could have a folder for a particular subject you were studying, or even for a particular piece of group work or for an assignment. And the advantage of having folders is you can share them. So if you were using this sharing option, you could choose a folder that you're working on, say a group assignment folder, and email this folder to your classmates, and so long as they had RefWorks, they would have your references as well. And that way you don't have to give them every single reference you've ever collected in the history of time. Now, in the middle of the page here is where the references go. And as I say, you can key them in or you can download them, and we'll do both of those things today. And then the third part of the layout here is on the right-hand side of the screen is a little edit reference option that pops up when you already have a reference and you click on it. Now, we can't obviously do that yet, but we will do very soon. Aside from that, there's not too many other things to note about this interface. We'll end up using the Add Reference button today. We'll create a bibliography. We'll show you the tools section briefly, and we'll also have a look at this view mode. So I might actually put it back into its default of normal view. One other little thing to mention before we get going into getting the references and then putting them into Word is just that you can name your overall project, and you can have more than one overall project if you'd like. So I've already named this project, but your one will probably be saying up here untitled. So if you wanted to give it a name, you just use this drop down and then choose Manage Projects. And then you can use this drop down to rename the project. And if you wanted to make another one for whatever reason, you can also do that here. Generally, we think that you probably don't need to have lots of different projects because any one given project can hold thousands of references, and you can also divide them up into smaller groups, within this project by using folders, but it's completely up to you. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do now is go to the library's website and download a book reference into EndNote, and this is really easy. So I'll just close down this record I had here for RefWorks, and I'll instead look for the topic or the name of a book called Green Roof Retrofit. Here's the book I'm after by Sarah Wilkinson, who works at UTS. If I click the name of the book here, we get means to access it online, which is nice, but we also get all these other functions, one of which is an export to RefWorks option. So if you click that, you come to this page, and you will be using the new version of RefWorks, assumedly, so you can actually turn this off, and it won't ask you this ever again if you check this box, but because I demonstrate RefWorks, I'll leave this where it is, and just press this blue button to move forward. You see RefWorks opens, and then it's asking me if I want to put it into a particular folder. Now, I've still got some folders left over from previous demonstrations. You may not, in which case you'll skip over this screen, but I'll also skip past this screen as well right now. I'll just press import. Okay, and there you go, it's all done. It's saying we've saved one document to your library, and when we press OK, we'll see it. Here it is. Okay. So let me just click on this reference and I'll show you the edit reference area here on the right. There it is. You can see some information's come down from the catalogue. We've got the authors. It's downloaded some tags, which are coming from the subject headings in the catalogue record. It's got a date, a publisher, and some other things too. So if I was to use the APA 7th referencing style, which is very common at UTS now, this basically would have all the elements I'd need to make a reference list entry. We've got the name of the book, the people that wrote it, the year it was published, and the publisher. And they're the only 4 bits you need for a book. Say I noticed something about this that I wanted to change. You can press the pencil here and go in and add data to this record or amend anything about it that you think might be a bit wrong. I will do some editing today, but this record is actually looking fine to me, so I'll just leave it be. And then I'm going to shut it with this X, that little edit mode. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is a very similar process, but this is going to be using Google Scholar to get a reference from there. We'll go and get an article reference this time. So if I just go and find Google Scholar over here. This time I'm going to search for a completely different subject to green roofs. I'm going to look for a magnetar, which is a neutron star that emits a lot of magnetic energy. So anyway, say I wanted the top article from this list, Bright Supernovae from Magnetar Birth. What I'd have to do to send the reference to RefWorks is click this little cite button and then go down to this heading saying RefWorks. And after you do that, it looks just like it did in the catalogue export. You get this little button. It's giving you the option to import into a folder, but I'll just skip that. And then it's done its business. When I press OK, we'll see it in there too. There you go, Bright Supernovae from Magnetar Birth. If I click on it, you can see author, published date, volume, issue number, journal, pages, publisher. Okay, so now is a good time to show you another cool feature that you can use not just for journal articles. I could have used it for a book as well, but I'll show it to you now. So basically, when you go into the edit mode using the pencil, there's this little lightning bolt icon. And if you click that, RefWorks will go on the internet and try and harvest more information about the reference for you and add it automatically. I'll show you exactly what happens here. So I'll just press it, and then it will say exactly which article are you after. So I have to choose this one. And then you can see instantaneously it brings down the abstract that we didn't already have before. It's got a more specific published date. It's got a URL. And it's actually added the final page of the page range, which is great too, because that makes for a much better reference. If you were an APA 7th user and a DOI was available for the document that you were referencing, then you would be expected to put the DOI in as well. Now, you can't see the DOI on this page at the moment, but if I go into add more fields and I go, it looks a bit weird here, I don't know why, but if you click on DOI, you'll see that it's actually harvested the DOI from off the internet as well. So that wasn't there before we pressed this little lightning bolt button, because I tested it a bit earlier today. So there you go, that's all really cool. Press save. And there is one extra thing we can do for a journal article reference, and that is to attach the PDF to it. And this can be useful just in your workflow. So you're writing your paper and you're going to use RefWorks to reference it, but maybe you want to go back in and get some data out of the article or take some words to form a quote. Well, then the PDF will be there where the reference is, and you can do that too. The PDF viewer that RefWorks uses also has some basic annotation functions, so you can add sticky notes and highlight text and things of that nature. So I'm going to show you how to attach a PDF here. If I go over to Google Scholar again, now this is always a little bit tricky for me. Hang on a sec, I'll get rid of this. The toolbar for Zoom sort of covers over some of the browser pages that I've got open, so I can't actually click them unless I figure out how to get rid of it. So what I'm going to do to not ruin what I've done up till now is just open Google Scholar one more time and find this article one more time. You wouldn't normally have to do this if you weren't zooming your work. Okay, so I'm going to go and get the full text of this article. You'll notice that these links appear on the right-hand side of the screen saying full text.uts library. These don't automatically appear in Google Scholar, but you can turn them on. And the advantage of them is if the article you want is not available for free, which is quite common, but it is available via the UTS library subscriptions, then this little link will end up taking you to the article for free, and sort of the library will sort of circumvent the money changing hands that's often a problem when you're looking up articles in Google Scholar. So to turn this link on, you go over to the settings area in Google Scholar, go down to this little settings wheel, and then finally you choose this library links option. And then in this box you would write University of Technology Sydney with no comma, like that, and press search. And what it will do is it will add this entry down here, UTS library. Check that box and press save, and then you're good to go. This will magically appear. So I'm going to use this just as a demonstration. I mean, this could well be exactly the same thing, but just to demonstrate how this works, I'll press this. Takes you to the library catalogue, a record for this particular article, and then gives you a link to the database that has the full text. So you click this and then the subscription takes over. And here we go. So we've arrived at the PDF. So what I'm going to do now is just save it to my downloads and then attach it to RefWorks. Here we go. I'll just move this and download and save. I've downloaded this a couple of times already. You may have noticed that if you've got keen eyes. Okay, so now if I go back to RefWorks, I can click on the article and then I can click on the edit pencil, and then I can go down to this little attachments area and click it. Go to my downloads, and here it is. It's going to attach now, and it might take a couple of seconds. While it's doing that, I'll just point this thing out. This is a link here that sort of offers the same service that we were just using in Google Scholar. However, it doesn't work very well for whatever reason. And you'll even notice the blue text that comes up when I mouse over it saying, you'll need to save the full text to your computer first. So this is a good intentioned piece of kit, but it's not working so great at UTS at the moment. So apologies for that. But there is a workaround. If I now save, and then I was to go back and have a look at this record, I might have to go into the edit mode to do it. But if I go now and I click on this PDF, you can see it's loaded its own little sort of PDF viewer with the highlight and annotation options and things of that nature. Other things you'd expect a PDF viewer to be able to do, like zoom and print and download and such. So that's that. Alrighty, so we've got now a book reference and a journal reference. I guess what we'll do now is we'll go and get a website reference, and then we'll have a little bit of everything. So I'll just shut down some of these pages and I will start a Google search. So I'm going to look up a website called Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. And I'm looking for a page from a website called Simply Psychology. Here we go. The reason I've chosen this one is because it's quite easy to make a website reference with. The information you need is all here. You've got a URL, you've got the name of the website, the name of the page, the author, and the update, or the year of creation and the year of updating, I guess. But this is basically a date. And that's all the bits you'd need to make a website reference in APA 7. Harvard UTS, you would need a retrieval date and stuff like that, but no, that's hard to do either. So let me go back to RefWorks briefly. I'll show you how to do this. As an aside, there is a tool within the tools area of RefWorks called Save to RefWorks. This is a bookmarklet that's supposed to go into your favorites bar. And when you click it, you can actually see it up here, saved. You sort of press it and then you drag it over to your favorites bar. It's supposed to harvest data from a web page, and I have made it work before, but on my computer right now, it doesn't work. It just sort of never finishes opening. So give it a go if you like. All you'd need to do to run it was come to this page basically and then press this bookmarklet. And if it's working, it will harvest, you know, some of that information that's on that screen, not all of it, but enough to get you going. And then the little window on the right will let you add to it if you want to, which is cool. But because it's not working, and because it's actually nice to know how to do this manually, I'll just go back to you know, my library here, and I'll key it in from scratch. So basically, what I'd need to do first is to make a blank reference. So you go add and then create new reference. And the next thing you need to do is assign the reference type, because if you don't get the right reference type, even if you put the data in correctly, the reference won't look as it should. And the lights have gone out. It does this every time. I'm not as panicked about it as I used to be. Let me just go turn it back on again. Takes quite a while to warm them up again. Here we go. Still coming. Fantastic. All right, that should last us through the class now. So live TV and all that. Okay, so here we have the right reference type for us, a web page. And that will change the fields around a little bit. The title in this case refers to the name of the web page, which was Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. The author, I'll have to go over here and just confirm it's Saul McLeod, okay, M-C-L-E-O-D. I'll just also, while I'm here, grab the URL. So the author is M-C-L-E-O-D, Saul. If there was more than one author, you would separate different authors by putting in a semicolon and then you write the next author. If the author was an organization, a company, or a government body, you would just write their name normally. So Department of Finance or something like that. And then that would be it. If you don't want it, you just press backspace and take it away again. So I also copied the URL, so I'll just paste that in real quick. The published date was 2018. In APA 7th, I could actually key in May 21, 2018, May 21, so I might do that. In APA 7th, if you have a date, like a day as well as a year, you can put it in for a date. So I may as well do that. And is there anything missing now? Oh yes, the website name. So the website name was Simply Psychology. And that's it. So it doesn't take very long to key in manually. And now I'm going to press save. Great. So now I've got, just shut down that edit mode, 3 references. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is start to work with them with Word, and also choose a style that I want to export all these references into Word with. So what I'm going to do is change this view mode so that it says citation view. And the last style I chose as my favorite was this APA 7th style. But I'll also show you this little wheel which lets you select a style. If you were to use APA 7th, you would find that it didn't come in the list of styles automatically, so you would have to look it up here like this. Now, there's lots and lots of versions of APA 7th, but they're all very, very similar. In fact, they're all almost exactly the same, except for 2 things. Some of them have sentence casing. What that means is when you import the reference, it will, for parts of the title that shouldn't be in capital letters all the time, it will make the capital letters into regular sort of small case letters, which is called sentence case. These ones won't do that. They won't affect the casing of the titles. So maybe sentence casing is the way to go. Apart from that too, you've got 4 different options. One is annotated. Annotated means that if you had a notes field, it would put the notes field into your reference list, and that would be good for literature reviews and stuff, but otherwise it's not useful. This one, DOI empty, what that means is that if you have a reference and you've actually got the DOI filled in your little RefWorks reference, when you put the reference into your reference list, it won't show the DOI because that's the option you've selected. This one, this one will use the DOI field, but this mode is saying, I will prefix it by putting in the HTTPS part for you, and then after that, whatever is in the DOI field will go after. This one will put in HTTPS and the DOI bit, and then only the number of the DOI would be added to that in your reference list. None of these are right or wrong, but just bear in mind that if in the DOI field in your RefWorks entry, you've already got HTTPS DOI, and you are using this mode, you'll end up with those bits twice. So you might just have to take them out, that's all. Okay, but I will choose this because it's kind of convenient, and I'll press save. Okay, so sentence case, APA 7th, HTTPS DOI. Now, you can see here it goes straight into what it would look like kind of in a reference list. And these little bits are the kind of bits that it doesn't have right now, which is kind of weird because I thought I had a DOI for this. Maybe I have to go back here and, that's odd. Maybe we have to do this one more time. Save. Maybe I never saved it before. There we go. That's much better. Yes, now it has a DOI number and it has the updated pages. So what I'm going to do now, rip straight into it, is select all of these references and then press create bibliography. And create bibliography again. What this will do is give you a reference list version of your references that you've selected. So it's got a little heading saying references. It's got the references in alphabetical order. It's indented the second lines, and it's styling everything according to APA 7th with the brackets and the initials and the italics and everything else. So if you wanted just to make a reference list, you could press copy to clipboard and paste that into Word, and away you go. However, RefWorks also offers what's called a write and cite add-in that you can use. And the advantage of the write and cite add-in is that it also attempts to do your in-text referencing for you. So if you wanted to get into that, you would have to download the add-in into Word. It does work with some other things too. So if you went down here to tools and tools again, there is a version of the write and cite plugin down here for folks that have Google Docs and a thing called Hangul, which I've never heard of before. And older versions of Word, so pre-2016 versions of Word, you can insert this toolbar and then you would use that button to insert the reference and you would use this drop down to choose the style. And it works great. If you've got Word 2016, as I do, then there's a different version of this add-in that you use. So what I'll do real quick is I will open up Word, which I should have done before we started today, apologies. And then I will go and share Word. I didn't do this last time. I practiced this and it ruined the end of the video, suffice to say. Anyhow, when you're in Word 2016 and you want to add the RefWorks add-in, go to Insert, then choose Store, then search for RefWorks, and then press the Add button. Continue. And you can see here it's loading up my RefWorks. If you didn't have RefWorks open, it would ask you to log in at that point. Current project is that's one I'm working on. So you press Update. It's a kind of strange word for this, but when you press that, it brings all the references that you've created in a little list here. So if I was over here writing a pretend essay and I wanted to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what I would do is I would click the little check mark by this reference here, and then I would go up to Insert Citation. And this is what it does. It makes an in-text reference for you, and then it creates its own little reference list at the end. For some reason, it justifies all this to the center of the screen, which you don't really want, but it's easy to fix. Pop it over there. Okay, and then keep going. Maybe this time I'm quoting someone, and I've taken a quote from page 6 of the Green Retrofit book. So what I would do is go and select it here and insert it, same way we did before. And you can see that it's making a reference list, but also doing the in-text referencing. Now, if you're quoting someone and you're using the APA 7th style, then you have to put the page number in of the quote. So the way you would do that is you click in the little in-text reference here, and it takes a couple of seconds, sometimes a scarily long amount of time, but here it is. Over on the right side of screen, you've got this edit citation option that pops up. And if you wanted to add a page number in, what you'd do is you'd add the information in the suffix field. So that just means it goes after the 2016. So if it was from page 6, I would go comma space P dot space 6, if I'm not mistaken. And then you can see a preview of what it would look like up here. You press Insert Citation, and I'll do that in a sec. But another thing that this little window allows you to do is, if you've already mentioned the names of the author in your sentence, as sometimes happens in writing, you could say, you know, Wilkinson and Dixon talk about green roofs, blah, 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 and then you want to cite. At that point, you just want the year maybe and the reference list. So you could uninclude the author, for example, but I'm not going to do that today. I'll just suffice myself with the suffix. Insert citation, we'll finish this off. And there you go. So that's kind of the way it works, and it goes on and on like that forever. I'll just go back and show you now. I need to share this screen again. Okay, let me just go back to the internet. Pardon, here we go. There's one thing I forgot to tell you about earlier, and that was just assigning a reference to a folder. So I talked about folders and talked about sharing them, but I never actually showed you how to put anything in there. So for example, do I have a folder here already? I've got a folder called Astronomy. So how about I put the magnetar reference in there? So if I wanted to put my magnetar reference into the astronomy folder, I would just tick the box. You could tick more than one. Press Assign to Folder and then pop it in there. As simple as that. Alrighty. So now we're wrapping up. I'm just going to show you some ways in which you can find help about RefWorks. So back to the library webpage. Here we have the referencing guide on the right of screen. The major supported styles of UTS are here, your Harvards, your APAs being the primary of them. And these guides will show you how to make a reference in those styles. There's also a RefWorks page. The RefWorks page has videos made by RefWorks about how to use it, which are very useful. I will also insert the Zoom video that I'm recording now into this page in time. And there's other info in there too, including PDF guides that we would normally give you if you were coming to a class in person. In addition to this page, there is the referencing team contact list down here in the referencing area. So if you have a burning referencing question, direct it to one of us. That's me, David. So we're always here for you. And if you want an answer right away, you can always try this Ask a Librarian thing, which is operated 7 days a week. If you click that and then you use the online chat, most of our chat service people are familiar with RefWorks and can answer your questions too. Well, I think that's it for today. Hopefully this video works. I hope it's been useful to you if it does work, and I hope to see you perhaps in the library one day in the future. Thanks and bye.